The August 14th meeting of the Conestoga Valley Board of School Directors. I want to welcome everyone that's here in the room as well as those that are joining us online. Will you please all join me in the pledge to flag? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Martin, could we please have attendance?
6 members present tonight. Absent are Mr. Benigno, Mr. Gensel, and Mr. Dillon.
So we do have a quorum. That leaves us with the agenda. Are there any changes, deletions, or additions to the agenda?
Yes, there are several changes to the posted agenda, and they are as follows. Action discussion item H, which is the school-wide Title I school-wide plan, is an action item, was previously posted as a discussion information only item. Also discussion item I, review and approval of the Desmus contract, was originally posted at a grades 6 to 8 math resource. It has been updated to reflect a grade 6 through algebra 1 with an updated contract to reflect this change. Action discussion item K, scope of work for math curriculum support, was deleted because the agreement was not received. The superintendent's report had 8 additions to personnel, and they are listed in red print. And there was a clerical change to superintendent titles where they were listed in the agenda to reflect assistant to the superintendent, not assistant superintendent.
Okay, those changes, by the way, all follow the sunshine law that's required because they're either time sensitive or they're what they call de minimis. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as changed?
So moved. Second.
Well, you can't move and second.
No, she,
Oh,
Diane.
okay.
Diane, yeah, Mark. Yes, I just.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Now, everyone sit back and we'll have superintendent's comments.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Before I announce, we have quite a few new faculty members that we're excited to introduce this evening. Before I do that, though, I just want to give a kudos to Dr. Kozer, Dr. Mann, Mrs. Schaefer, Mrs. Upton, and all of the administrators and teachers who are part of our district induction team. Last week was new teacher induction. I had the opportunity to pop my head in a few times and see what was going on, and it was very engaging and truly got a lot of positive feedback. I know members of the induction team reported to me that they got positive feedback from the new teachers. I had a few new teachers even make comments to me at lunch some of the days on how supportive it was, especially some of our teachers who have experienced induction in other districts were sharing how much more supportive and thorough our program was here at CV. So kudos to the team for that. New teacher induction is always tricky because there's if you ask any of us in school administration, we could probably spend a month going over things that new teachers need to know, and you just don't have that amount of time, and you don't want to scare people away. So it's a balance of giving everybody need to know information and need to know trainings and professional development while also balancing it with building relationships and just letting people know where they can go for support when the times get tough and they hit that wall in the first year. And I think our team hit the nail on the head and really had struck that balance. And it was a great week last week. So kudos to that team. And for those who we're going to introduce tonight, some of them were able to experience. They were able to come in for a few days of induction, although some of our newest hires weren't able to experience it, but they'll experience induction in the future when we do it again with another group. So I'm going to start out this evening introducing a few individuals who were previously approved at previous school board meetings, but that they weren't able to make it. So I'm going to start with Leah Hollinger. Is Leah here? Leah. Leah was approved back in May. She's been hired to be a phys ed teacher at Smoketown. Leah comes to us with approximately 12 years of teaching experience between the School District of Lancaster and Lower Dolphin School District. She has her Bachelor's of Science from Lancaster Bible College. So welcome, Leah.
All right, thank you.
Spencer Miles. Good evening, Spencer. When we interviewed Spencer, it was through Zoom, and he was in fatigues, sitting in a tent in Kuwait a month or so ago. So touring with Army Band, is that correct?
Yeah, the 28th Infantry Division Band.
So doing a tour of the Middle East. So it's nice to see you in a different light this evening and here with us. So Spencer is a middle school music teacher. He has his bachelor's degree in music education from WVU, West Virginia, go Mountaineers, and a master's degree in music technology from Temple University. He has 2 years teaching experience with the Susquehanna Township School District. He has served as an instructor and administrator with the Penn Square Music Conservatory, and he also owns and operates his own recording studio in Lancaster. So excited to see what you do with our middle school students. McKenna Nycary.
Hi.
McKenna is a high school math teacher. She recently graduated from Penn State with a bachelor's degree in education and mathematics. While in college, she also worked as an extended school year teacher and a substitute paraeducator with the Lancaster Lebanon IU while on home for her break. So got a lot of good experience even prior to graduation. So that'll serve you well. Thanks, McKenna. So our next faculty members are our new approvals for this evening. So Michelle Lapp. Michelle will be our new librarian at Fritz Elementary School. Mrs. Lapp has her Bachelor of Science in Library Sciences from Kutztown University and a master's degree in classroom technology from Wilkes University. She has served as a library media specialist in the York Suburban School District since 2007, where she has also taught research and design in STEM courses. She is currently a CV parent and resident and a super fan of the Buckskins, if you can't tell by her earrings that she's wore to her interviews and she's wearing tonight as well, I see. So welcome, Michelle.
Thank you.
Carrie McGuff. Carrie will be our new autistic support teacher at Brownstown. Mrs. McGuff taught social studies for several years in the Penn Manor School District before stepping away to raise her family. She returned to the workforce in 2012, working several years for YTI Career Institute as both a student service coordinator and the associate director of education. She returned to public education in 2018, serving as an autistic support teacher with IU 13 since this time. She holds a bachelor's degree in social studies education and a master's degree in special education, both from Millersville. Welcome, Carrie. Emily Wagner. Hi, Emily. Emily will be our new pupil services consultant at Smoketown. Mrs. Wagner is coming to us all the way from Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, where she has been teaching with the Punxsutawney School District since 2019. Prior to this, she has experience teaching in Pittsburgh, Maryland, and in Aspen, Colorado. She holds her bachelor's and master's degree from IUP and is currently working on her doctorate through IUP. So, thanks.
I'm gonna have to introduce you to Octavara Orphy. Octavara Orphy, our groundhog, nice to count.
Our version of Punxsutawney Phil. So. All right, we're about halfway through. Kirsten Tomlinson.
Hello.
Good evening, Kirsten. Kirsten will be an emotional support teacher at Leola. Ms. Tomlinson recently graduated from Millersville University with a bachelor's degree in education. She is dual certified in both early childhood and special education, and a recent graduate, and this is her first teaching job, so welcome.
Thanks.
You're gonna learn from the best. Amy Taylor.
Hello.
Amy will be a second grade long-term sub at Brownstown Elementary School. Teaching is a second career for Mrs. Taylor. Amy has a bachelor's degree in food science from Penn State and a master's degree from Cornell, and worked as a senior research scientist for the Hershey Company for several years before taking time to raise her family. She completed another master's degree in early childhood education from Holy Family University in 2022 and served as a long-term substitute with the Northern Lebanon School District last year.
Thank you.
Kendra Garoff. Kendra will be a kindergarten teacher at Leola. Kendra graduated from Millersville this past spring with a degree in elementary education. She is a known commodity to us here at CV as she completed her student teaching in kindergarten at Fritz Elementary last spring and then served as a substitute in one of our emotional support classroom to towards the end of the year, where she did an excellent job, and we're happy to bring her on board full-time this year. So welcome. Christian Overman. Christian will be a new high school social studies teacher this upcoming year. Christian has his bachelor's degree in social studies education from Millersville University. In 2015, he student taught here at CV, and then we lost track of him for a while, for good reason. He spent the last 8 years living and working in China, where he has had several educational positions, including as a classroom teacher, a lead teacher, and a program manager. We're excited to have his international experience with us here at CV. Thank you. And I don't believe Carrie is with us tonight. Carrie had? Okay. We'll save her for a future meeting then. We do have one more, Karen Sullivan, who will be our first head administrator. Karen, welcome. Since 2005, Karen has worked as the director of Chesterbrook Academy and also been our liaison and point of contact for our district's previous version of our pre-K program. She has worked closely with our administrators and elementary teams in the past, so this should be a very smooth transition for her. She received her early childhood director credential from Keystone College in 2011 and brings a wealth of early childhood experience to us, and we're excited to work with her. And with that said, I'm going to actually turn things over to Dr. Kozer, who has another introduction regarding our pre-K program.
Absolutely. So we don't normally do position transfers, but I thought it was important tonight to celebrate the district receiving our Pre-K Counts Grant Award, that I also introduced Lori Ditzler. So many of you know Lori. She has had 33 years of classroom experience here in Conestoga Valley, and so you know it had to be a really good position in order to get Lori out of the classroom after 33 years, right? So pending board approval tonight, Lori Ditzler will start as our early childhood specialist, who will be working with our Pre-K Counts classroom. So I am thrilled tonight to really introduce these two members of CV's first ever early childhood team. It's a huge celebration and an accomplishment for the district. So welcome, Lori and Aaron.
Right. I do have one more. I forgot one of our most recent hires, Christine Johnson.
Good morning.
Christine will be a new 6th grade ELA teacher at the middle school. She comes to us from the Avon Grove School District in Chester County, where she's been since 2015, serving in various teaching roles at both the elementary and middle school level. Like some of our other new faces tonight, teaching is a second career for Christine. She originally received her bachelor's degree from Arcadia University in interior design, and one thing that I thought was interesting that she shared in her interview was prior to getting into education, in her previous life, she spent time working, helping to design schools and to design the interiors classroom.
Now we flipped it.
So she flipped it, and now she went back in 2012 to get her master's degree in education and is working on her education technology certificate from Westchester currently. So happy to have you, Christine. That was a mouthful. That concludes my report for this evening. Thank you. Welcome, everyone.
Yes, as always, it's a wonderful mix of veteran teachers and those with new experiences to bring, and a varied background that only enriches all of us. Welcome all of you. Are there any board comments on district activity?
I got to go to the new teacher luncheon. Very nice. I'm very pleased to have met some of you, and the enthusiasm and the passion comes through. I'm excited about that. Thank you.
Before we move on with the rest of our agenda, I want to remind everyone that this is one of 2 meetings a month in which we receive most of our informational presentations as well as discuss and deliberate future decisions. There may also be some voting action items required on timely issues or to meet time restraint guidelines. It being August, almost everything is an action item tonight. Our meetings observe the requirements of the school code, legislative directives, the original Act 84 Sunshine Law, all subsequent amendments, judicial rulings, applicable regulations, and our district policies to the best of our understanding and ability. At this point, is there anyone from the public who would like to make comments on any of the agenda items? If not, we'll move on to our action discussion items. A, superintendent's report. Dr. Hartman, do you have anything to add to your report?
Nothing to add in addition to my written report and my comments previously.
If not, then I will take a motion to approve the superintendent's report.
Motion to approve the superintendent's report.
Second.
Can we have roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Kapka?
Aye.
Mr. Talley?
Aye.
Mr. Hurst?
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Ms. Trowbridge?
Aye.
Mrs. Croft?
Aye. Item B is the Lancaster County Land Bank Authority proposal. Is it Mr. Crump here this evening?
Yes.
Good evening. So this is Sean Crump. He's from the Lancaster County Redevelopment Authority. And I've met with Sean and Ralph Hutchison from the township twice already, along with Dr. Hartman. They have a program that they refer to as the Land Bank, where we can identify properties that are in a blighted position or delinquent in real estate taxes and look at ways that we can enhance the growth and the assessed value of those properties. So I'll turn that over to you.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for having me tonight. Not sure if you're gonna want to advance those,
I can
But
do
yeah,
them
like
on
you
your-
said,
on your queue if you want me to.
sorry?
I can advance on your queue.
That would be great, thank you. So, yes, I'm from the Lancaster County Land Bank Authority. This was something originally introduced back in 2016. Again, as was mentioned, it was put in place to repurpose vacant or blighted properties, bring them back to their highest and most productive use. So that's, especially for the school district, that's obviously important as it relates to taxation. Obviously, you want to see the community in a less blighted state generally, but especially for the school district, taxation is obviously very important for revenue. But yeah, so we're staffed by members of the redevelopment authority, primarily myself. Currently, we have 5 member municipalities, and the reason I have to come in front of you today, it's not a program that you can simply take advantage of without entering into an intergovernmental agreement. So these are just standard agreements that we enter into, which with the school district as well as the municipality, and that allows you to take advantage of services offered through the land bank. And any fees paid like upfront to enter into the land bank under the intergovernmental agreement, that's all paid by the municipality. So that's not something that the school district is responsible for. Something to keep in mind, as we mentioned, we purchase, repurpose, fix up blighted properties. However, we don't have the power of eminent domain, which is just important to note. That's the power that the government has to take properties. Rather, we work through negotiated sale with the homeowner. So that's obviously just important politically. You don't want to be going around taking properties when you don't absolutely have to, but that's not a power that the land bank has. So we can go ahead. So as I mentioned, land banks were created to acquire, manage, maintain, and repurpose vacant, blighted, or underutilized properties. A lot of times these properties that we acquire, there's a reason they're not selling in the traditional open market, and that's why the land bank is able to step in, purchase them, again, through negotiated sale. So some of the things that we look to achieve, again, to eliminate blight, increase overall safety in the neighborhood. Obviously, these properties are not only nuisances to look at, but they can actually, be pretty detrimental to the health and safety in communities. We also look to avoid things like tax sale transactions. That's something where you'll see people come in, purchase up a bunch of properties, allow them to sit there without any intention of, fixing them up. They're speculators. So they wait until the value increases without actually putting them back to productive use. So the land bank looks to acquire these properties and immediately begin to fix them up to bring them back to productive use. We don't want to hold on to properties for a long time. Obviously, that's not good for the community. It's just not something we look to do either. So we can go ahead. Here's just a brief overview of our process. I'm not going to go through each of these steps. Again, we identify properties in communication with the municipality. We establish member municipality advisory committees that help us to identify the properties that are of interest. So we're not going to come in and look on Zillow and say this is a property we're interested in. We look for the input of the community because obviously the properties that are potentially of interest to an organization like the land bank, more so than we ever would. So we then go through the process. We eventually acquire the properties. Again, we go through a negotiated sale and a purchase. We then put together a request for proposals. This is after we go into the property and see what needs to be done to bring it back to that productive state. The request for proposals is released. We get responses from developers who are potentially interested in moving in, working on these properties, at which point they would purchase them from us under a development agreement. So that means that they actually have to abide by the things to fix up the property. They can't just buy them, go off and do whatever they want. So we've recorded a development agreement at the County Recorder of Deeds, which requires them to complete all of the steps that we put into the agreement. And we can get pretty specific about what we want the property to look like after the development is complete. So we work with commercial properties, we work with residential, we work with mixed use. So it's just really whatever, again, the municipality and the member municipality advisory committee wants to see. Again, we then go through a purchase of the property, they buy it with that development agreement, complete the rehabilitation, at which point it is sold to a new homeowner in that taxable state. So we can go ahead. This is one of the reasons it's very important that we have to be in communication with both the school district and the municipality. The land bank statute provides for specific taxing provisions, which are obviously very important for everyone to understand. The one provision which we've only utilized one time in the land bank's history is if it is agreed upon by both the school district and the municipality, we can discharge those existing tax claims and liens on the property. Again, we've only ever done this once, and that was because those liens were in a higher amount than the property was able to sell for, so obviously the homeowner wouldn't be interested in selling. But again, typically when we go to a settlement and purchase these properties from the current property owner, any delinquent taxes will be returned to the school district as well as to the municipality at the settlement. So you'll regain those taxes if a property is tax delinquent. While the land bank holds the property, we hold it tax-free, so it's not going to continue accumulating, those taxes. And lastly, this one's pretty important. So for 5 years after the redevelopment is complete or after it's sold to that new developer, we share 50% of the taxes with both the school district and the municipality. And this is because the land bank doesn't have any dedicated funding sources. So this is just it would be used specifically, any of this money that we would get from these properties in East Lampeter to purchase new properties in order to continue our work. Because again, we don't have any funding sources specifically for the land bank. So we can go ahead. You can go to the next slide. So as I mentioned, the land bank holds the properties tax-free for the short period of time that we own them, which is typically only a couple of months. But it's also important to note, if you look at this map here, there's a pretty significant amount of properties that are just sitting tax delinquent. So although we're going to be holding them tax-free, it's not like they're bringing in taxes in the first place. For the most part, they're just sitting there accumulating delinquent taxes. So it's not really going to make a difference, and you'll get that initial windfall from the taxes being brought back when we go to settlement and purchase the property. So we can go ahead. So I just have a few examples here of the work the land bank has done in the past. So you'll see these assessed values for these properties for the next 4 or so properties. You'll see that when the land bank purchased them, for the most part, these properties are sitting there tax delinquent, not bringing in any revenue. After the rehabilitation was completed and we sold the properties, that revenue increased significantly. That assessed value is what your taxes are based on. So a percentage, the rate is based on this, multiplied by that assessed value, which obviously pretty significant increases. You can just sort of keep moving here. So you can see 69,700 was initially the value of this property assessed. After the land bank completed their work, it was a 48.8% percent increase in assessed value, so it went up to 103,700. Again, this property was significantly tax delinquent when we purchased it, only assessed at 48,500 after our work was completed. It had a 100% increase in that assessed value. So obviously pretty significant increases in revenue that you would see after these rehabilitation projects are completed. And this is just to demonstrate we have other properties that are not only these residential properties that you're seeing, but this one is being redeveloped into a mixed-use development. So that one was in, Manheim Borough. We were able to rehab it, or we're currently working to rehab it as a mixed-use apartments and commercial restaurant space on the first floor. So here just some interior design was mentioned. Obviously, it's something that we're pretty interested in as well. You can see the great work that was able to increase these assessed values through the rehabilitation projects. But that's really everything that I have for all of you. I'm not sure if you have any questions or anything.
I have a few questions.
Sure.
It is not really made clear that we will recoup our past taxes. It's very clear in a couple of different paragraphs that all liens will be eliminated. But it never actually says that we will be able to recoup our back taxes. I would like that to be a lot clearer in this contract.
Yeah, I mean, if you read through it, we have to have agreement from both the school district and the
Okay.
municipality in order to discharge any taxes. So again, we've only done that once ever in the past, and we have to have like the voted on agreement. So by the school district, typically it would be through a resolution or something. But again, that's not
Yeah,
something.
we have to, I was surprised not to find anything in here about at the sale, if available, we would get, I understand if it's not worth as much as the taxes are, it wouldn't be, but it seems to me it should be clear that, we will be able to recoup those taxes.
Like I said, I mean, we can add
You have
language.
this joint authority, how many people will be on that? You asked for one person from the
Yes.
township and one from the school district. Must that be a board member? I noticed later, one place it says a board member, another place it says or designate, so we could appoint someone else.
Yeah, I mean, there's not like any specific, like in the ordinance or anything, there's nothing too specific about how that member municipality advisory committee has to be made up, so it's really, oftentimes it's concerned citizens as well. We do like to have the school, someone adjacent to the school district at least, so we can easily, whenever we purchase a property also.
You're sitting by her.
Yeah. But whenever we purchase a property, we also have to get that agreement from both the school district and the municipality. So we're not just going in again and purchasing properties, we have to have that passed as a resolution as well from both bodies.
Okay, and it does talk about 30 days if we have a concern with the kind of sale that you have in mind. But if I understand this as tactfully as it's put in, you people will decide whether or not you get through with that sale.
Well, I mean-
Even though you will be considerate of our input.
Yeah, I mean, we have to get that resolution passed in order to make any kind of acquisition.
Yes, but that resolution, if it's passing your joint committee, that's made up of only two people. One from the school, one from the township, and who are the other people?
Yeah, so again, there's no like specific, it doesn't get specific as to how these bodies have to be made up.
Yeah.
And again, when we acquire properties like this, these committees are mainly made up so we can hold meetings internally with them, so they can go back to the school, the larger, for a larger vote among the school board.
I think that was about the only questions I had.
So I did reach out to some of my colleagues that are involved in the land bank program, and they have all said it's a win-win situation. We're not getting our taxes to begin with if they're so delinquent. And then it also helps some of the neighboring properties as far as increasing their assessment. But they said it is a process. It's not just a turnaround in 1 year. It might take a couple years. You can speak better than that, Sean, than myself. But yeah, it's a process.
But we're not collecting any taxes off of it anyhow.
Correct.
I'm okay with this, but I would like that wording
Okay.
in the agreement. Does anyone else have any questions? Yes.
I have a quick question, sorry, I'm a little slow here. Can you explain this 50% taxes for the 5 years a little bit better?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's something that's not super clearly right now. That's the only funding source that the land bank is able to bring in other than grants that we're basically pulling for blight remediation. This is just something where it says in the agreement, if you read through it, it says just basically you'll work out the way that works best for both, bodies like the land bank, the municipality, and the school district. I would work basically directly with whoever's collecting the taxes for the school district. Basically work out that they would provide a spreadsheet of what you're bringing in through tax revenue. It could be something as simple as we write out a check with 50% of the taxes that are brought in, and that's only for 5 years after we sell the property to the developer.
So if I read it correctly and understand it correctly, when you sell it to the developer, then for whatever price it goes to, the school district we're responsible for 50% of those annual taxes on that
Yeah, no,
on that property for the next 5 years?
So whatever, you'll bring in 50% of the taxes, is what I'm saying, and then the land bank splits the other 50% of those taxes and brings that in. Am I
Oh,
understanding
bring it,
you?
we're not paying. I thought you were saying we're paying, the way I read it, it was like we were paying it for the first 5 years.
that
That
would-
was
that would-
really
that would defeat
confusing
half
to
the
me.
purpose of the
Right,
banking
that's what,
system.
okay, that makes a lot more sense. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So it's 50% of the total taxes now. I don't quite know how to answer
Yeah,
the
so it's
question.
the first
It-
5 years,
it-
we're
it
only
is-
collecting half of the 50%
Yes,
of the
exactly.
taxes
Yeah.
for that,
That's it.
I get
for
that.
that property.
Yes.
But that
Okay.
50%, we then, if you sell it, then we have to be assessed by the county, right?
Mhm.
And so you get half of ours and half of the townships.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and you're bringing in
I
the
wanted
other
to make sure
half.
that
We're-
was,
yeah.
divided properly.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
There's just one more thing that I feel obligated to bring to your attention too, that if one of these properties happens to be in the TIF, the tax increment financing zone, that would be applicable based on the current agreement right now too.
How to bring that up?
I know.
Okay, well,
I would
that's
be remiss, I wanted you to know
That's
everything
just
right up
something
front.
we'll have to live with.
Okay.
I just thought of something, I can't remember what it was, but, are there any other questions? About how this, this map that was on your presentation, that is a map of what area?
That's a map of East Lampeter Township.
Of just East Lampeter Township?
Yes.
Do you
That-
have any idea how many properties this represents?
It's 76 total, and this is only.
Okay.
And to be clear, what we're looking at here, I wasn't
yeah.
able to gather school district delinquent taxes. It's not as readily available as the municipal taxes. My assumption is if they're not paying the municipal taxes, more than likely they're also not paying the school district
Yeah.
taxes.
So of those 76, that key is the mix of how much they owe?
That's just like the total, yeah, and this is per census block group. So that's the total owed in each of those census block groups.
Have you people looked at any of these to see if you really feel there's a chance of improvement?
I mean-
Are a number of them displayed, where all really gonna have a value is the land?
Yeah, I mean, so it depends, again, every property is unique. We've looked at, specific properties that are of interest, and to be clear, I mean, we're not, again, like, we're not the ones saying which properties, the municipality's potentially interested in pursuing. But, I mean, absolutely,
Yeah.
like, greater investment in these properties and giving a clearer picture based on what that member municipality advisory committee would recommend would make, feasible projects for any properties we would look to pursue. And yeah, that's really just up to what the municipality and that advisory committee wants to see the property become. So that could even just be, we've had properties where the best project is just a demolition. That's occurred in the past, and that's because, again, it's just not only a nuisance to look at, but it's also a safety hazard. And some properties,
Do you have any idea of the mix of residential or commercial, what the zoning areas are for these properties?
yeah, it differs, depending, East Lincoln Highway, that is primarily commercial, and some of them that's where you'll see some of
Yeah,
the.
there are some that are just closed and sitting.
Yeah, greater tax delinquency as well, and, liens against the property and things like that.
But there are residential ones in these
Yes.
too?
Mhm.
Okay. Any questions? So my question to the board is, do you want this on the consent agenda for next week if we can have this worded the way you want?
Consent's fine.
Everybody good with it? Thank you.
Thank you,
I certainly hope this turns out to be to everybody's advantage.
great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would East Lampeter like to weigh in on this at all?
No, I would just share with the board that our board had also heard similar presentation, and I expect that they'll be approving the agreement as well. We can
But you
certainly.
both have to approve it. It takes both of us, right?
Correct.
Okay. If we'll move on then to item C, we have an agreement with J.R. Reynolds, Inc. Yes, Dr. Mann.
And his sidekick.
I'm the sidekick on this one.
Done.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. We're seeking approval on this agreement. After working through the mediation, it was determined that J.R. Reynolds is not at fault at anything
I
and
think we're
due.
basically,
Yeah.
we've been updated in that part of it.
Yeah.
So this is just the formal agreement.
This is
and-
just a
yeah.
formal agreement. Any other questions on this? We've had it before. Then I will take a motion to approve the settlement.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Talley?
Aye.
Mr. Hurst?
Aye.
Dr. Martin? Aye. Ms. Trowbridge?
Aye.
Mrs. Capco?
Aye.
I think you're
Mrs.
good.
Grom?
That comes
Aye.
to mind.
And change orders for Smoketown in the middle school.
That's me.
This is all yours.
So this is
Yes.
all me.
Yes, Mr.
So
Johnson.
give
all
the
yours.
architect a night off on these. We could just bring those up just so I can
It's,
see what
It's being glitchy.
It's being glitchy? Okay, all
It's
right.
not working either.
I'll try to remember here. One for Smoketown would be related to floor leveling. We had a certain amount of floor leveling included in the project. And then we had a unit price for anything we found beyond that. What we found when they started removing the dividing walls between the classrooms so we could put the movable walls in. Yeah, one floor's here, one floor's here, one floor's here. Can't make it up. So it was just the way the building was constructed. The walls went up between and the floor levels on either side of the wall were not the same. Or close enough, but you know. So I guess it was like horseshoes and hand grenades, right? It was close. So this is additional cost to date for additional floor leveling. It's been monitored by the gentleman that's on site doing the construction management, and I've also been included in a walkthrough just to determine areas. So this is taking care of pretty much the majority of the two classroom wings, and then some other areas as we're moving towards like the opposite end of the building. I believe there's some additional coming, but not to this extent. So it's a justifiable cost, and we included a portion of it in the project, but that would have been anybody's best guess to know it would have been this much. So, and these can go all on consent agenda. They're not needed to be voted on this evening.
Well, I have it listed as to go on the consent agenda for next week,
Yep, that'll be great.
okay? That's it, is that it?
No, that was one down.
Oh, that's
We
it, you
have
two.
3 more to go.
Okay,
So, after the documents were put out, and then the Conservation District and DEP and everybody else got their eyes on things, some changes occurred within the design of the basins. So this is some additional costs required to develop the basins to the end result. DEP held us up for quite a long time on this project. So by the time we got all their comments, well, we were way beyond bid. We had contractors on site working. So these are changes that came out of that. We negotiated back and forth with them. Engineer agreed that these are justifiable numbers. So this is, if you would have seen the first number, it was much higher than this. So this is an agreed to number. So again, justifiable.
questions? One more?
2 more.
Two more.
2 more, both related to the middle school. One related to additional fire dampers that were installed in the vestibule, the main vestibule walking in. This was well documented. They were not included in the original documents, so this was additional work over and above. So,
Keep going.
yep, just waiting on it to come up here. So this one relates to additional handrails at the loading dock that were not shown on the original drawings. So to make sure they maintain a similar look to the rest of the building, we're having the same contractor do that work. So it's additional cost of $19,293. So
Is that it?
that's it.
Errors and omission issue?
Yeah, that one was not included at all. I mean, they were not shown anywhere. So to have it include
I
anybody's
just
scope,
break
I
down
would,
these issues are all separate from any other
Yeah.
issues we're holding on to.
and those are all being tracked.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
That's it?
That's it,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Appleby, you have 2 or 3 issues to bring to us tonight.
Yes, Madam President. Good evening, board. How's everyone doing? First up is, I'm gonna talk Power School. It's going well. We need some help, I'll be honest. Trying to get to the next phase of the project, as Mr. Talley asked back in the spring. Let's get it built and start talking customization. We are at that point and looking at that in coupled with support. So I've kind of looked at a couple different avenues, checked on Power School for paying for customization through them. What ultimately happened was I reached out to a lot of my colleagues and I kept hearing the same story. Check out Power School 21 up at IU 21. So I reached out and got connected. Awesome people, they're already helping us pro bono. Which has been really awesome. So we're looking to purchase the bank hours. I'm gonna say I would like 60. If you tell me I can have 90, I'll take it. But you do know, as it says, all the hours roll over. We don't use them this year. We got it for next year. We can keep going. But that's a general list of what they're gonna provide to us. So everything from general support to my favorite they're looking at right now is what they call software audits. They're gonna look at under the hood and see where we might have missed something, how we set something up, is there a better way to do it? Ultimately, even down to state reporting at the end of the year. So being able to get support from an IU that understands Pennsylvania K-12 and Power School, to me is probably the best. Christmas in July would be the best way to describe it. So that's what I'm asking board approval to move forward. It's not really a formal agreement. We're gonna issue a PO, add them in as our vendor, pay out for whatever support hours we want, move forward. Okay?
Questions?
We need to pick one.
Hmm?
We need to pick one, 30, 60, 90. Do we not?
That's up to you.
Well, what's the budget difference here?
Honestly, I would say give us a 90, because if we don't spend it, we'll move it over, but I'm gonna do my best to hit 90 if I can.
No.
I've got plenty for them to help us
Is there any reason not
with.
to?
What's that?
Is there any reason not to?
No, it's the most cost effective too, so
That's fine.
let's go for 90,
Okay, so we're all fine with the 90?
okay?
Gonna take a separate vote on each one of these issues?
That's fine, yep. However you like to handle it, Madam President.
Well, I'm just trying to think, yeah, they're separate contracts, I think we had better. Motion to approve the IU 21 Power School with the third option.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Hirsch?
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Ms. Trowbridge?
Aye.
Mrs. Kapka?
Aye.
Mr. Talley?
Aye.
Mrs. Groff?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, Team Viewer.
So this one's easy. It's a new software. So with everything, we'd like to bring it to the board for approval. It's definitely under our annual renewal contract. But ultimately, since we've been moving to iPads and Macs, my team has been looking for an alternative solution to be able to provide remote support. I also like to say part of the conversations I've had beyond that is with Mel Upton in regards to CBVA, for their coordinators and teachers to also utilize the same program to be able to provide remote CBVA support. So this is kind of a win-win between tech and CBVA. So it's based out of a 1-year TeamViewer license. It'll give us all the connections we need. It is a remote assistance, not remote control. Big difference is I can't just jump on a device and see what somebody's doing. I wouldn't do that even if it allowed us. It's on a more remote assistance. Student says, I need help. CBVA or my team says, all right, you're gonna get a prompt. Here's a 4-digit code. Bada boom. Then they're connected and support can happen. So looking for approval. It's under state PEPM, so.
Questions? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the contract.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Ms. Trowbridge?
Aye.
Mrs. Kapka?
Aye.
Mr. Talley?
Aye.
Mr. Hurst?
Aye.
Mrs. Grub?
Aye. And the last one is final site.
Yep, so, with every other project, started taking the tree with Power School. And all of a sudden, then our communication side gets procured by Final Site, aka Blackboard. So pros and cons. It seems to be a nice system. I mean, ultimately, Katie Odell is the point of contact for a lot of that. But this is for us to be able to re-implement in a sense, our SIS connection. So if I had to put it in easy terms, we have Blackboard with Sapphire. We're gonna end up with Blackboard / Final Site and Power School. So it's the mass communication. We should gain a better cross of the information ultimately, but
Hopefully it'll be improvement. We'll find
sure.
out.
We'll make it work for the best of what the service has, but yeah, it was,
Okay. Any questions? Not, I'll take a motion to approve the final site contract.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Trowbridge?
Aye.
Mrs. Kapka?
Aye.
Mr. Talley?
Aye.
Mr. Hurst?
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Mrs. Grub?
Aye.
thank you very much.
I wish I understood better half the things you tell me, but I appreciate it anyway.
Got it.
It is this evening.
Dr. Mann. Oh, no, Dr. Kozer.
Okay.
This is, I think you talked a little bit last week about these meetings.
Right, this is just a revisit to see if anybody had any specific questions. We have had the middle school's plan posted for public review. At this time, we have not received any specific questions or comments. So this is the one that I said I would check back, and then we would vote for approval, and we'll get this uploaded to the state.
Will we be getting separate ones from the other Title I schools?
So this is the only one that requires the school board's interaction and approval. Because none of our other Title I schools have any type of designation, they will all be posted publicly. They'll be on the district's website, on their school pages, and we can certainly provide a summary for you of those plans.
What do you mean when you say no designation?
So middle school has that targeted supports, they have the TSI designation, where
Okay.
this is the label from PDE, that they're kind of that early warning, hey, we need to look at the ESL population at the school more closely.
Okay. Any questions on this? This is, I sat in on the sample meeting that they did at Brownstown.
Yes,
The teachers put a lot of time and effort into sharing their experience to specifically to reach out to kids that need extra support.
that's exactly.
If not, then I'll take a motion to approve this the school-wide plan.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Grub?
Aye.
Mrs. Kapka?
Aye.
Mr. Talley?
Aye.
Mr. Hurst?
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Ms. Trowbridge?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Now, Dr. Mann, you have a couple of issues for us this evening.
I do. Hopefully not issues, but a couple of items. The first one is the Desmo contract. Last month, we had brought to you the LDC collaborative primary resource for the ELA work that we were doing this summer. The math, we worked on math also this summer at the middle level and getting into Algebra 1. The teachers looked at a variety of primary resources to use to start building the curriculum around. And we landed on Desmos as that resource, similar to the LDC, to begin that process. The teachers were excited to have the opportunity to have something like this to go forward. It is, again, a primary resource. It is not the curriculum, but it is the resource that will do the work going forward in developing the curriculum in grade 6 through Algebra 1. The rest of the math department at the high school will begin this year looking at their programming and then decide if there's a primary resource that we want at that level. but that'll be later, like going into the summer, next summer. So I'd like to get approval on this tonight.
Any questions? If not, I'll take a motion to approve, what's it called, Desmond's contract.
Motion to approve Desmo's contract.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Capco?
Aye.
Mr. Talley?
Aye.
Mr. Hirsch? Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Ms. Trowbridge?
Aye.
Mrs. Groff?
May I ask just one
Awesome,
question? I
thank
don't
you.
want to get too far afield in this though.
Mhm.
Who is it, maybe it's you, who makes sure that K through 12 math, especially K through 8, is consecutive and
Mhm.
cumulative and
Well,
state standards?
right, the work that we started doing this summer,
Mhm.
it's the whole math committee that's doing that. Dr. Hooser and myself, along with a committee of teachers, have started that work and looking at making sure that the programming is aligned, K through, actually through algebra. Because then beyond that, then it starts to branch off a little more. So that work we started this summer, in looking at remember the modern curriculum contract you approved a couple months ago or a month ago? That's the work that we're doing, and it's taking a walk through the guidance of Jay McTide's group, the Understanding by Design group, through that process of tying in the profile of CV learner and the instructional model, along with the state standards. So you have what's called the trans goals over here where it takes the instructional model and so forth and applies it. But then you also had the content goals, which is your standards and things of that nature. So the work is aligning those two things to make sure that we're doing
This is
both.
done sort of by committee?
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I've been struggling trying to follow up how curriculum is coordinated and monitored. We'll get back to that another time. Your next one is also a math curriculum, right?
Yes, the next one is a contract with Navigate 360. I'm asking for approval of that tonight. Navigate 360 is an emergency management suite. I brought a portion of this to you a couple months ago when we were looking at the threat assessment process that we follow. When I looked at that, I started looking at their emergency management suite, which in the end will help us coordinate all of our emergency response efforts within the district. We have a good plan in place and so forth. This will help make it tighter. This will give us opportunities to receive specific professional development with some of the various things that we do, as well as in coordination with our SROs. So for example, this will provide the synchronous or asynchronous ALICE training, which is a response to an intruder. And then our SROs, we're going to follow up doing the practicum side of that. Now, what does that look like in real life now? So it helps facilitate that process. As one example, it, as I said, will help coordinate and maintain all of our documents, all of our resources. It'll tie into your student information system, so like PowerSchool, so that all of your rosters and communication things are real time, all the time. So, in the event there is an emergency on your iPad, you would have access to real-time information and help to coordinate that.
Day.
Yeah, so it's a, well, a little on the expensive side, I think it's well worth it as far as helping us in our efforts to make sure that our buildings and our programming is safe. So I'm looking for approval for that tonight as well.
Questions? I have one
This is a
question.
1 year.
I'm sorry.
This is a 1 year, however, there's initial startup costs that won't be there next year with the annual subscription.
I just have one
And what-
question. I understood at one point we were looking into the School Safety and Security Institute up at PSBA headquarters. Are we still trying to schedule time with that?
We're looking into that. There are other efforts around the state as far as providing similar type of training. And so.
I just found that unique, that it was a real hands-on experience
Yeah,
for
well,
us.
Dr. Hartman just shared some information with that.
Okay.
with me today about that.
I have a motion, don't I?
I don't
Do I
know.
have the motion yet? Okay, then I'll take the motion on,
Motion to
Navigate
approve Navigate 360. Second.
roll call. Don't start with me. That's okay, anybody.
Mr. Tally?
Oh, yes, aye.
Mr. Hurst?
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Ms. Trowbridge? Mrs. Capta?
Aye.
Mrs. Groff?
Aye.
Awesome, thank you.
And math curriculum 612.
What's that?
I'm not on that page, I don't.
Is that, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm done.
That's the one we deleted.
Correct, that's the one
have it
I'm
listed.
still
My
working on.
apologies.
I'm still working on that one.
Yeah, we're finished, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mrs. Schaefer.
Hello. So a few months
Wow.
ago, I was here presenting on the unified classroom behavior system that we had bought for the secondary. And then tonight, I'm asking for your approval to include elementary in that process now. They're going to be moving forward with that this year.
Questions? Motion.
Motion to approve the unified classroom behavior support. Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Hurst?
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Ms. Trowbridge?
Aye.
Mrs. Capta?
Aye.
Mr. Tally?
Aye.
Mrs. Groff?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Henry.
Good evening. So, So before we go on to the boosters, I just have a request for approval of a new sports team photo vendor. JFK, they're local. Our last two vendors that we have used have not been a good fit. And I was able to actually talk with the owner, Jeff Miller, in person and discuss our needs, and he is on board. He's already been walking around campus looking at sites for pictures, looking how the sun will, the direction of the sun, and measuring things out, and he has already in 2 days done more than the other two vendors have done. So I would really love to go with him, and
I hope this one works. 3 years, 3 photographers.
yeah, I agree.
He's done the youth soccer for
Has he?
years.
Oh, okay.
And the swim team, summer programs.
That summer youth
Do we have
basketball.
one photographer that does all of our athletic teams, or is it littered?
That's what yes, I mean, we used Life Touch, and then last year we used VSN. But like I said, neither of them were a very good fit, and then now we're hoping to go with Jeff.
I'd be surprised if Jeff is not the fit.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
he does a good job.
All right, could I have a motion?
I move that we approve the JFK photography agreement.
Second.
Roll call.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Ms. Trowbridge?
Aye.
Mrs. Capta?
Aye.
Mr. Tally?
Aye.
Mr. Hurst?
Aye.
Mrs. Groff?
Aye. Booster Club.
Thank you. Yes, I have Principal Matt Smith with me. Matt Fox, oh my God, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, like, I've worked with you for a little bit. Jeez, I'll take over from there.
My bad. And I also have Brandon Hershey, our golf coach. I'm sorry,
That's all
Matt.
Wait till your final evaluation. So what we did is basically, this is one of our first presentations together. We're probably gonna do a couple more of these, but when I first got hired, Dina and I sat down and kind of talked about one of our goals. And one of the goals were to look at all of our organizations that we have in-house and looking at having a booster club for every organization. So we have only a few left remaining that don't fit under this. And the idea is that will help us with making sure that we have the right finances and we have the right money going to the right places. And this will kind of do this for the golf team. When I talked to Brandon before he kind of walked in here, they were looking at doing things like end of year gifts for seniors. They're doing some type of anywhere banquet type of thing with the team. It's a relatively small team compared to other groups. And that's kind of the idea we want to propose, is that a lot of times that these smaller sports didn't think a booster club was necessarily something they wanted to dive into just because of the size of it. And when Dina and I talked, we thought it might be great across the whole district to look at all of our activities and different events that we have that historically maybe didn't have booster clubs, as big or small as they are, just to be part of this process. So this would allow them to be part of our Buckskin Alliance and some other different organizational things. The thing that I loved about this booster club proposal, which most of our clubs follow the similar format, is just the consistency of using the coach and having the coach that they're working in collaboration. There's not a decision being made from them and then Brandon has to carry it out. It's really, the whole thing throughout is really a collaboration with the coaches.
Right, we just want to make it consistent. Like you said, we have
I think
a couple of teams that
consistency is
that do not
important.
have
Do we have bylaws for all of our booster clubs?
We do,
They must have been passed.
a long time ago. Well, I'm actually in the process of,
There should be something standard
right,
between them all. I think at some point you need to get together. I read through this one, I had a couple concerns, but mostly my question is, did you read the policy before you wrote this?
I didn't write it, but yes.
Yeah, I think there's some parts missing. I do have a concern with the authorization where the coach can deposit, withdraw funds. Because it says and/or the coach and the president. I don't think that's the best way to manage funds when one person has the ability to put money in and out. And I don't know that there's anything in here that references, Mrs. Hunsinger, help me with this. We do have very specific guidelines on how funds are to be handled by all clubs. And I'm not sure everything is in here from there. So I think we ought to have Mrs. Hunsinger review this. Okay, and I would get rid of the word constitution. This isn't the constitution, these are bylaws.
but we have a template that says constitution and bylaws that I handed over to him, and he basically followed that entire template.
I'm just saying that there's no constitution here, this is
Yeah.
just a set of bylaws. But yeah, I would like to see it all be consistent and all of it aligned with the recommendations of the business departments. I have no problem with having this booster club, but this document has to be tightened up a little bit. Unless anyone here has an objection to putting this off.
It says that the coach can withdraw funds. I don't see
Just for
that.
clarification, what aspects tightened up?
Well, I think you'll have to talk to Mrs. Hunsinger about that, because handing the funds, who's allowed to, how many people are allowed to, the timing between collecting and depositing money, there's a whole set of rules that you need to review before you just blatantly say, here, as long as it's under $300, the coach can take the money out. That doesn't work.
Well, that's new information for us. I mean, I've been here, this started my 6th year, and this is the first I've heard of that.
Well, I don't think we've had
Yeah.
new bylaws for anything other than the esports team in the last several years, and those guidelines for handling money go back quite a ways.
And they should be in the bylaws?
Well, I think the bylaws shouldn't be looser than what they are. So you know, I'm sure Mrs. Hunsinger will guide you through
Where it says the
what needs to be said.
Yeah, we just used the templates that were there, so.
I get that, you know, and you covered most of the responsibilities, but, you know, it has to follow our business office regulations for handling it. Some years ago, we completely rewrote those and tightened them up because we found out that there were too many of our organizations, especially those that were very profitable, that had large amounts of money, and parents would just take the money home for the weekend and then take it to the bank, and we needed to tighten all of that up. So we have some specific.
Can I just get a clarification? So are you asking for those procedures to be written into the bylaws, or do you just want the board of the Booster Club to be aware of it?
I wanted to make sure.
Because I know that Adele does have communication with the booster clubs on how to
I want to make sure that
submit.
there's an obligation to follow the rules, and the people working on it are aware of it. And.
Okay, so then they don't have to actually be written in the bylaws is what you're
No,
saying?
but some
Okay.
things have to be changed, that just putting $300 in or out isn't gonna fly. No, you don't have to repeat the entire policy, as long as you reference it, and don't have anything in here that violates those.
Yep, that's fine. I just wanted to
Okay.
understand what you wanted us to do there.
Yeah. It's just too easy to lose control of these things if everyone isn't aware of the rules of the road.
Well, that's kind of what our reasoning behind it, even doing it across the board, is because we actually had at one time clubs
I know.
that were, and basically the club supervisor had kids kind of helping out with signing off, you know what I mean, that type of stuff, so.
And the bank depository was their desk drawer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this kind of standardizes it, at least for this, and then once we get this solidified for some of our extracurriculars athletics, then we can start looking at our clubs and organizations.
A couple years ago, we requested a club list,
Mm-hmm,
and we got a very complicated spreadsheet that you couldn't read.
oh geez,
Because, at that time, the board was interested in just knowing what different kinds of clubs, that we had. But every now and then you do have to stop and tighten up your regulations, so
agreed.
this is a great place to start. But I am glad to see that you're able to find, I assume, enough parents that were interested in doing this?
Yeah, we have two new positions this year, people stepped up to fill those roles, so.
How many people are on the golf team?
We have 12 kids on the golf team, last year we had 21, and media said that we need to trim it down to 12, so unfortunately we had to make
really?
cuts this year, but that's just course availability, which
Is it a gender mix?
This year we did not have any females. We had
None.
2 females last year, just, I think part of that's due to making cuts.
I'm sorry.
I think part of that was due to having to make cuts,
Oh, okay.
so. We're excited to be competitive.
Would that be normal anytime you had the guys and the girls all on one team and it was a competitive cut, you're gonna end up losing the girls?
I think there was one scenario where a girl did not try out because she knew she probably wouldn't be within the top 12. I think there were a number of other scenarios like that too, but.
Considering we're having, the LPGA here in Lancaster, where they recognize how good the girls are. Somehow that's contrary to what's happening out there.
Fourth best golfer and one of the best golfers in the league is a female.
Oh, well, that's good. We have to start making room for both of them. Okay, bring us back to, a well-written one, and we're fine with it. And I hope you have a successful season. What is your season, what month?
Will be done in September.
Be done in
So
September?
we're fall sport leagues are September 25th.
Okay, well, I hope it goes well.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know who's this, Matt, was this yours? Oh, that was there, okay.
Next item is the agenda for next week.
No, we still have letter N.
Where am I missing something?
6-star tennis.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Golf, tennis, I'm sorry, I thought it was so much athletics.
This will be very, very quick.
Oh, that's okay.
So we work with Market Street Sports to do our sponsorships across the district. Benner Insurance was previously our sponsor of the tennis courts. They didn't renew their contract. Market Street went out to look for a different sponsor. They have found 6-star to be the next sponsor for the tennis courts. And then you can see in the attachment where their signage is gonna be and the various parts of that agreement with them. But it's really just a replacement for what was Benner Insurance on the tennis courts.
Questions? Motion.
Motion to approve the 6-star tennis court sponsorship.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Trowbridge?
Aye.
Mrs. Kapka?
Aye.
Mr. Talley?
Aye.
Mr. Hurst?
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Mrs. Groff?
Aye. That finishes that part of the agenda. I will have to take a deeper dive into the rules when there's money involved. There has to be a roll call vote to see if I can't condense that process. But they're really specific, and so many of them are contracts, we end up having to vote each one. Okay, next is the agenda for next month. Any questions on that? At this point, is there anyone else who would like to address the board on any issue? Does the board have any announcements or initiatives?
I do have one.
Okay,
Yes. One of the things that dawned on me was that when we put in the 4 fields out here on the next to the stadium, we, as a board, previous board, we agreed to 2 turf and 2 natural grass fields, et cetera. The turf fields are used a lot. The natural grass fields, quite honestly, it's not even close to the expectations that we agreed to. We agreed that it was gonna be like the boys, girls varsity field that's now a parking lot. And it's been 3 years, 4 years since that's been done. It's been a while, et cetera, but we're just not making any progress out there. So as a board initiative, I'm interested in fixing the final 2 fields. My thought process is, I don't think grass is gonna work on those fields. And I'm interested in getting some numbers put together and a plan put together to make those final 2 fields turf. And to fix a couple of other things, such as emergency access onto the fields, et cetera.
well, you're suggesting that we consider a whole new project.
You know what, I wouldn't say it's a whole new project because it's not finished.
It's a big enough project though.
It's a big enough project where I would have some key people involved, but I think since we've done already 2 fields, to duplicate that is not gonna be
Basically,
a
I
big.
think, I'm trying to think if this should be Mr. Johnson or the athletic department, as far as changes in grounds. I'm gonna turn this over to them to look at.
I was going to turn it over to the superintendent to let him do his thing and come back,
Yeah, that's who would look at.
but he's gonna delegate it
Yeah,
to Ken and the
yeah,
department.
if we feel there's a need to
I think we should
to
clean it up.
evaluate field usage, then
Yeah,
we'll just do that. Okay?
I'm assuming.
Certainly look into that. And
Let's have a plan over the winter. Because we're not gonna do anything over winter,
Let's turn
but
it over to them.
I like to at least put
I
somewhat of
know,
a
but
deadline to.
our
when they
job
come up.
it's not to schedule these
It's
things.
not, however, it's been a few years and I would like to, yes, I won't forget about it.
I'm sure we all have a lot of issues that have been sitting around we'd like to pick up, but let's just.
I'm
direct-
open,
Let's just direct them to review
Absolutely.
field usage.
do your thing.
And see what they come up with.
Are we, as a board, are we okay with that? It's
That's,
just not,
We spoke
it's not a
into it,
board
yeah.
We're good?
initiative, it's not a board
Talk about it.
initiative,
It's not a board initiative, but it can be.
so,
Well, maybe. It's a Mike initiative,
no.
that's what
It's
telling you.
it's a school
But then it gets,
facilities management
board
issue.
I'm gonna call it under announcements.
No, that is,
Yeah.
I have no problem with you bringing up an issue, I'm
Yeah.
just saying
I think
handling
it'd be
it,
smart to,
handling it.
they're
is
used
not
a
wrong.
lot, I think it's smart to finish that up.
My only point is that handling the issue is not the board's responsibility.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying,
That's why.
okay? All right, now that that's done, any other initiatives or announcements from the board? If not, I'll take a motion to move to executive session for legal and personnel reasons.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? We are adjourned.